What's up guys, my name is Mark and this video is going to be about how to spin up own API instance to interact with the Ton blockchain. I've heard a funny joke that if Ton Center is going down, we will realize that we are not that decentralized at the end of the day. And that's why sometimes you really want to spin up your own API instance to interact with the blockchain and not be dependent on some other service that everyone is using. It's quite simple. It's quite cheap. So you will see today that you can do it for yourself and this is going to work well for you. So before I jump into the topic, can I please ask you to like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to do my best to provide you with the quality content every week. If you want it even more often, please go to Telegram in the description. You can subscribe to my Telegram channel, and there you can also interact with me. You can text me. I will do my best to help you with the question, or you can drop me some support in Ton coins. There's a address to my wallet. And another important thing I wanted to notice is that we are trying to gather the people who are in town. We're trying to gather them around projects to make it more organized. What kind of events happen, how to help each other on some project, how to find a team. So, toncircle.so link is in description as well. That's a good service to kind of stay tuned. So we have Telegram groups, but in Telegram groups, if you missed it and you have like 700 messages not read, you have to spend some time to do that. But here you can subscribe on people. You can, for example, this is event that I'm hosting today, and you would probably know about it if you would be there. So I really advise you to go sign up, introduce yourself, and start interacting with Tonanians. Tonanians are those who are in Ton. So this being said, let's jump to the topic and let's overview which APIs we even have. So Ton API, they don't offer self-hosted option as far as I know. And if we talk about Ton HTTP API, this is Ton Center. This is, I think, the most famous one. So they offer self-hosted support, and that's exactly what we're going to do. They have even some recommendations on the processor. And third one is ton-api-v4. It's made by Whale's team, and also they offer self-hosted support. But here they only support mainnet and sandbox, and we don't have testnet. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to work with testnet API. It's quite simple to switch it to mainnet later on if you wanted, but for the test purposes, I'm going to use only testnet. And I have to say that first, I'm not a DevOps person. I do quite a lot of things in DevOps, but I'm not professional DevOps, let's put it that way. I only know what is practical for me to make my things work. And second, I'm quite junior, I would say, in the blockchain field, and I can't explain in depth the difference between, let's say, ton-api-v4 and the Ton HTTP API. So that's why I'm bringing smart people on this channel, as I promised you. So when it comes to DevOps and how to organize the server, I'm going to invite Evert Ramos. That's my very good friend from Brazil. And he's going to tell us a little bit more, like if we're missing something when we try to configure the server the proper way. And second guest is going to be Dan Volkov. This guy is crazy smart and he's part of Whale's team. And he's going to try to explain us the difference between those two APIs and maybe some use cases that we want to know. And yeah, but today we're going to get something work, and we are going to try to first run this Ton HTTP API. Then we're going to try to make it to work with HTTPS because we want it secured. And second, we're going to try to run Ton API v4. Then we're going to try to run them together. And then we can also try to run them independently. just by one. Because I don't know if you want one or both or the other one. And let's jump to that. First of all, of course, we will need the server. And for that, I'm going to DigitalOcean. Oh, I have the do balance. If you guys can help me, please drop me some tons. So I'm going to choose the cheapest droplet because we're not going to go hard on that. But here, the guys from Ton Center, they have some advice on like CPU. So if say HTTP API only 1 CPU, 2 GB RAM. So we have 1 GB RAM. Yeah, so basically $14 per month. It's a price to host your own API instance without hustle, and I think that's good when you want to make your project work and when you can just um, kind of provide yourself with the tools you need, you know. So we will need to create a droplet. Let's host it in Frankfurt. And let's call it YouTube API instance to YouTube lesson. Oh, let's call it Tone Study. Uh-huh. So we are good to go. Yeah, we just need to put a few things. I work with SSH and yeah, we'll just create droplet. So, important thing, we are going to first configure the server because it's going to be a clean server. We need to make some basic setup. Like for example, it's not a good practice to run Docker as a root user. So we are going to set up server a little bit. And for that purposes, my friend Everett has a very nice repository that helps us doing that. We will also use his another repository, which is kind of like also imported by this one, that helps us to provide the server with like sustainable SSL certificates provider, renewer. So we're going to issue Let's Encrypt certificate, and then it's going to be renewed as well. So Everett plays quite a significant role in how to, in at least for me when I try to configure things like that. Okay, so I hope we have the machine working. That's right. So we copy the IP address, and another important thing is we need to point this IP address to the machine. We need to point the domain that we want to work with, on which we want to host our API. We need to point it to the machine, to the IP address that we have. So I kind of had it here on this machine. Don't worry, I'm going to destroy those machines at the end of the tutorial. So I hope you will not do anything to them. So um, now we have api.toncompany.org to point into the IP address of our machine, and let's just SSH to it. For this, we will use the terminal. And we're going to SSH root. We can put either IP address or, because I already pointed out, and let's check it, I can use the API toncompany.org. Yes. All right, so we are inside of the machine. So first thing we're going to do is we go and clone this repository easy server. Yep. So now we had to install and we had to user folder. And here we are going to just configure user on behalf of which we are going to run the Docker containers. So we have to have to, there was yeah, env.sample. We have to move it to the actual env. Now let's edit the env file. This is going to be user Ubuntu. We didn't install Docker yet, so let's remove this one for now. All right, so now we will check what is on the add sh. So on his YouTube channel, Everett says that in DigitalOcean, the sudo works a little bit different. So his advices to using this script is to remove the sudos when you actually create a user. And all we're gonna do is run add sh. Okay. All right, so we are going to try to, yeah, we are logged in as this user. Log out. And then again. Great. So now we have to clone the same repository again. Oh, I was expecting it to be on my copy. All right. Clone again. We go into the easy server. Let's see what we got here. We go to install. So let's first proceed to Docker. We go to Docker folder and simply run install docker sage. It's going to download a few libraries and install them. It's also going to install Docker Compose because we're going to need it. I started to talk about Docker, but I didn't point out that the guys from this repositories, they already prepared us for Docker. So for example, here, the guys provide even an image on the Docker Hub, so we don't have to even build stuff and poke around. So if we go to Docker Compose, so basically that's the primary way to run different apps on cloud. Yeah, so you see the guys have image. What means image? It means that they already have pre-built everything for us, and we can just pull this image and use it and run it. So it's somewhere Docker, I believe. Yeah, no, it's a different thing, but anyways, this is the image. You can find it on Docker Hub. So let's see where we are here. Yeah, so Docker is installed. Oh, some permissions denied, but it's fine. I'm going to log out. Now, let's do that. Exactly, that's what we want. Awesome. So now let's see what we got here. Uh-huh. Hmm. I wanted to Ubuntu folder again. So, so let's go into the Nginx proxy. Nginx proxy is the thing that I was talking about that is going to provide us with SSL certificate and is going to route all the incoming requests or outgoing requests. It's going to route them to the proper Docker container and provide it with SSL certificate. You can just Google. Yeah, Jinx proxy automation. So that's a good visualization of what the script is going to do. It's quite simple. You don't need to dig into it like badly. That's why exactly this script exists. So we go into Nginx proxy. Let's edit the script we have here. Let's change the email to the one we have for this is going to be used for Let's Encrypt. And I'm just running install proxy. .sh. Everett is going to probably tell us a better way, like how exactly it works, because DevOps goes hand in hand with quality on your cloud. So we should definitely pay attention to that. But Everett is the person who could tell about this much more, and I'm going to get him on this call. I'm super happy about that. So let's see what Docker says. We have 3 containers running. Um, those containers are providing us with the Docker with the SSL certificate, and they together they create a network. Docker network OS. Yeah, so this network breach, this network proxy, it wasn't existing before, but now it was created, and we are going to now. Basically, now we are ready to I don't know, let's try to ping the API to on company. It has to say something at least about like, okay, self-signed certificate. I would expect it to tell us something. Yeah, so it's in Jinx 503, service temporarily unavailable. But it's at least working in Jinx. It's not like we could actually hit the server, which is cool. And yeah, let's jump into what we can bring from these repositories with API instances. So let's start with Ton Center. We are going to clone it. We are going to clone it into the user directory. Yes, git clone ton http API. So ton http API. Oh, wait. All right, so what documentation tells us? Docker Compose, we already have installed Docker Compose and everything. So we would need to create a private repository, and we need to pull the testnet list of nodes, because our API is basically going to connect to nodes and then allow all the users who know about our API, like provide the information from list of public nodes, but in an organized way. So we are going to run ls private. Yeah, we have testnet. And now we're asked to run the configure pi. All right, let's edit it. See what we have here. Ton API, ton lib light server config. We don't go with mainnet now, we go with testnet. Yeah, so basically here's just default configuration. And yeah, so they're asking us to do Docker Compose build or Docker Compose pull, but once we are going to run Docker Compose appd, it's going to be pulled by itself. You see, now it's pulling the image from the Docker Hub, and it's going to try to run it. So we're going to first try to run it the way documentation says, and then we are going to see that it's working with HTTP. And if you're not very proficient with the SSL certificates configuration and everything, the better way is just use the stacks that already out there. And that's exactly why I'm recording this video, so you would know which stacks and how to use them, you know? So let me see. Yeah, we gotta wait a few moments. So the pull finished, but our container couldn't jump up. And let's see why. It says that the port is already in use, and yes, because we already spinned up the proxy stack, and the proxy stack is waiting on port 80, which is the main port for HTTP requests. And that's why we're going to stop the Yeah, let's go to server. We're going to stop the proxy stack. So compose is the, yeah, docker compose down. Stopping, removed. Mhm. Yeah, so no containers run. HTTP API docker compose abd. So now we're good. Now we are good. And let's see. So get master chain info, it's one of the endpoints for the Ton Center. And let's see if it's even working. Refuse to connect. API toncompany.org get master chain info. So port 80 goes to 8081. Let's So we're doing something wrong, and let's check how we send a request. Okay, so it was the HTTPS. So that's the thing. We can only connect to this endpoint over HTTP, and we don't want to do big hustle on how to work with Let's Encrypt. We have built up boilerplate for us, and if we want to go with HTTPS, here we're gonna need to uh, get the proxy stack on again. So we need to go to easy, no, just to server, proxy, proxy compose. Server proxy compose. And we need to start the stack again. Okay, so it says that, you see, now we have conflicting port, but we're gonna deal with that. We're gonna stop our instance. Docker stop. That's great. Let's run this one again. Let's first down. And let's run up again. And so now we have running stack. Now let's go back to our ton HTTP API. And so what we're going to do now is we are going to create one more Docker service. If you can see here, Docker. So here we have service main. We're going to rename it to ton HTTP API. Also, we're going to comment the ports, and we're going to remove the networks definition. Also, let's just comment it, because we're going to use network proxy. So this way, our Docker Compose containers are going to be attached to the network which has access to outside of the machine, and this way they can interact all together. So, and here we also need to comment out stuff here. But we need to define which networks to use. Define which networks to use, we're going to have this networks default external network and name proxy. That's good. And maybe, yeah, we're going to use the network proxy. But in order to make it work, we still have to spin up a Nginx service. Let me show you how it's going to look. So here we have ton HTTP API service, this one. And now here we're going to create Nginx service. It's just default things. So Nginx image, Nginx latest, volumes, Nginx config. I'm going to explain you what it is now. Here we have to set up a domain. This is exactly what we need to provide to obtain a SSL certificate. And virtual port 8080. So this way, our containers will kind of think that they have access to the outside of the world. And because they're in the same network as the proxy stack, they will actually have this access. So, and let's close it. And let's create the nginx config conf file. What we are going to have in this file? In this file, we're going to have a few rules. So basically, we listen on 8080, and we have to map the ton HTTP API service that we had in our Docker Compose. We have to map it to this location, like to the root of the domain. Okay, we exit. And now let's try to run it up. So I hope it's going to work. Docker compose up d. Yeah, it has to pull the Nginx image. And yeah, guys, if you're a little bit confused about the code, like how to make it yourself, you can either put on pause and put this code that you want on your machine, or you can also you will be able to just clone the repository that I will put in the description. I'm going to fork Ton Center guys, put the stuff that I was using here, and you can find it on my GitHub account. If you don't mind, please subscribe on my GitHub account. So let's see what is going on. All right, so we have the moment. Yeah, I lost my mouse. So we have ton center container, we have nginx container. Nginx is mapping our ton center and outside of the world, and it's mapping it with help of these three containers, and it's provided with SSL certificate by them. Yeah, exactly. So 443 is for SSL, 80 is for HTTP. I mean HTTPS, HTTP, and if we are done everything right, when we click this button, yes, 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 yes. So we have HTTPS endpoint that is, so we are able to access all the Ton Center API methods over HTTPS, which is kind of cool. So we're not dependent on Ton Center anymore that much. I mean, of course, we're using their image, but still, the uptime can be controlled by us. All right, so we have one API working. What if we kind of put the like separation? So we are going to add one more thing here, ton HTTP API. And for this to work, we need to put a couple rules here in the nginx config conf. Yes. Which rules? I'm going to tell you now. So it's going to be like that. Location, HTTP, ton HTTP API. We need to proxy pass the same service that we had, 8081. But let's try. It's not gonna work probably. What is going on with my mouse? Probably it's not gonna work. Docker compose restart. Yeah, so it's not working, but no answer. Wow. So, but that's why we need to kind of tell our Nginx that whenever some stuff comes with this, we need to rewrite this URL. And I prepared for you the rules. The rules look like that. So it's going to rewrite everything that comes after that URL. It's going to rewrite and map it to this service that we have. Okay. Yes, we want to modify it. Docker compose restart. All right. Yes. And Jinx is not working. Let me see what is wrong. Docker logs F. I need to start. Okay, I did some typo. I did some typo. Where exactly did that happen? Okay, I didn't put the semicolon. Start. And Jinx started. Nice. So let's see if this is going to work. Yeah, so now it's working, but also the core one works. So they both work, but why did we want it? Because next step we are going to proceed to the ton-api-v4. Yeah, as you can see, we don't have testnet here, and the guys Tonwales they came up with a nice image. So what we know from here is we we need to provide ton config environment variable, and we can use this image, and we know that it's running on the port 3000. So we're going to uh, docker compose YAML file, and let's do it here above. So we go with ton API v4 image from Tonwales, and I have the rest prepared for us. So we have image, Tonwales, ports 3000, environment. This is the official links for the testnet node list. You can find it in the documentation. So if you proceed to the Ton documentation, here you go to API, and you can actually, so here somewhere, yeah, mainnet and testnet, you can see that like this is a list of nodes. You can, same way, if you put here the mainnet config, it's going to be work for mainnet. All right, so ton HTTP API, ton API v4. Oh, cool. So now the last thing we need to do is provide same set of rules. Not same, but I mean, let's first see if it's going to work here. We're going to just map, sorry, my Siri want to do something. We just need to map the ton API v4 on port 3000. So basically when the root URL hits the Nginx, it's going to hopefully provide it with the answers. So let me check. Yeah, I would need to restart. No, I'll first need to go down. because we created a new service. And now we're going up B. And now it's pulling the ton-api-v4 image. That's cool. All right, so it pulled all the containers, namely one ton-api-v4. And let's see if everything is running. It is running. And now we would use the ton-api-v4. Okay, let's remove this one. We would use so basically this part is the specific to ton-api-v4. It's the, let's say, we can see it in API documentation of API-v4. And this is our domain. We know that domain was already working with a ton HTTP API. And now let's see if the root works with exactly. The root now is providing us with ton-api-v4. But we want to keep it the same way like here. So we want it to work with prefix, let's say like in the location. So let's say it's going to be ton-api-v4. It's not going to work. Not found. It's not going to work because we need to tell our nginx what to do in this case. Let's just copy this one. Ton HTTP API, ton API v4. Here we're gonna go with also with ton API v4. And here we want it to be routed to ton API v4 as well. 3000. Yes. Docker compose restart. Wait. That's what we want. So Docker PS, everything running good. And now let's hit it. That's what we got. Awesome. So let's kind of sum it up. Here we have moment. Yeah, so we know how to run, if we only want one API, we know how to run it independently on the root domain. We know how to run the both of them. And here we have space for creativity. So for example, you might want to go with like testnet and then spin up like 4 services. So here you are going to have 4 different routes, and you can go with nano docker compose YAML. You will just need to spin up more services and provide them with the right config files. And this way you could have like 2 testnet for 2 APIs and 2 mainnet for 2 APIs, up to you. But we basically now are more independent from testnet or from other providers like the ton-api-v4 here, in this, which is especially good that we have testnet now. So yeah, this is what we wanted. So that's it for today. And just to remind you, like and subscribe, and please subscribe to Telegram channel. Thanks. Bye bye.